Hi, my name is Rebecca Sims, and this is assignment 1 for ethics and dispositions. My key findings from the ethics quiz was that I am an everyday ethicist for the majority of the percentage, and I was about a third rationalizer, which means I'm looking out for my own self-interest. I'm making decisions that kind of blur the lines between ethical and not ethical if it's benefiting me. We all like to think we are extremely ethical, but when you look at some of the situations in that quiz, where, if I don't tell somebody what I'm doing, it's not gonna hurt anyone, and I benefit from it. So it was an interesting quiz to take. The key findings from watching the moral awareness video were to trust your gut, not moral intuition. And that doesn't always sound like a professional answer, I would say. However, if you are following your guidelines and ethical principles, but get into a situation that's maybe not making sense, or you're trying to figure out, something that maybe doesn't quite fit into standard ethical principles, I think that trusting your gut and following that intuition is always going to direct you the right way. Like the guy in the video who was in the military, and they thought they had the guy they were looking for, but his intuition said otherwise. And because he listened to that intuition and he dug further, he ended up being able to prevent a potentially catastrophic situation. So I definitely like that. Listen to your gut from that video. As far as the ethical problem solving worksheet, I chose a problem that I heard about when I was a new teacher. The school psychologist had come in to discuss a student with another special education teacher that I worked with, and the student had not qualified under his current evaluation. However, he had been in special education all through elementary and throughout middle school up until now, and she was going to find a way to qualify him rather than exiting him from special education, because she did not think he could succeed without the supports he was receiving. And she was afraid to just send him off into the world of general education after spending his entire education in special ed. So I looked at that problem. I did find an ethical dilemma. The school psychologist needs to follow the rules of eligibility under IDEA in California Ed Code, but the student would continue to struggle. So that's another consideration. So some of the standards and ethical standards relating to the situation were just practice and area of competence, accuracy of documents, assessment techniques, comprehensive records, and then the biggest one, priority of the welfare of the child, which you can look at both ways. Obviously, it's an ethical consideration. That's why we're using the problem-solving worksheet to begin with. But what is best for the student? When we're following the IDEA Act, least restrictive environment is where a student should be. And when you're exiting someone from special education and putting them in the general education population, that's as unrestrictive as you can be. So anyway, lots of things to consider. As far as the determination, I did believe that it was not ethical to find a way to qualify the student with a disability he no longer qualifies for, and I would exit the student and place them on a 504 so they can still get some of those accommodations and supports that they may need for their education to be successful. I would monitor the student and you know, make sure they're in the appropriate environment. That student may thrive in the general education setting. They may gain confidence and you know, do a lot more than was expected of them from the psychologist. So utilizing the NASP problem-solving model led me to a different solution than what the psychologist at the time did. Just looking at the variables and the ethical and legal aspects brought me to that action. And then anything I would have done differently after participating in this assignment, again, just looking at the NASP principles and the ethical part of what's best for the kid, what your legal guidelines are as well. So, and then my moral awareness influenced my decision based off of ethical principles. And, you know, I would worry about the kid, and so in the beginning I would have leaned towards, well, maybe keep qualifying him so he continues to get those supports. But looking at the laws and the ethical standards, you know, I couldn't ethically do that. All right, thank you.